Ms. Bush.
I would agree that moving them to Friday or just before a long weekend would be beneficial to less interruption throughout the week of, education. I would suggest that, and I agree that December is a short month, and it's difficult to keep the kids on task in the first place, and have a day split right in the middle there. I would agree that maybe going to 6 would be a better choice.
Mr. Person.
I agree.
Ms. Fisher.
I'm fine with either way, but there is the option of adding that half day if you want to keep it to 7 in February before the President's Day weekend.
And Ms. Goldberg.
Yeah, I would agree with that, keeping the same number of professional development, move it to the 14th before the long weekend in February, or December.
But then that is only, the PD days are kind of close together, so I'm not sure if that's a good thing either.
Something to consider. Mr. Nicholson, do you have anything? And I would agree. I like the idea of it going to Fridays so that you have less interruptions. I think that was a good suggestion. Ms. Sarr.
Is there any possibility of making the PD day in November, the 27th? It's early dismissal, and then, anyway, and then 2 hours of PD, and then we less intrude it on the student calendar.
The full day, you mean?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, are you talking about the half day or the full day?
The half day.
The half day, making it that day. The practice of Vernon has been that there are actual half days as opposed to early dismissal when teachers stay on the day before Thanksgiving and the last day of school. That has been the history of Vernon, that everybody leaves at noon so that the teachers aren't even staying that day. That's the way it is. It's the way it has always been. Is that a good it's not only in Vernon, however, it is across the state of Connecticut that those are the 2 days that people do leave early.
All right, we have a motion to table, and we have a second on that. Unless there's any further discussion, I'm going to call that motion to a vote by a show of hands. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Item 7.3, Central Office Reorganization. Dr. Conlon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gould. We've been working on the reorganization of central office and all the administration for well over a year. You know that Mr. Picaro, you have a very large org chart in front of you. Mr. Picaro has been working on the business office since he arrived, and that you can see that on the right-hand side. The positions, I think all of them are full right now. But he has changed the way things are organized down there, the way the work gets done, and that has paid off tremendously downstairs. We're also looking at the 2 other main offices in the central office, that being the Director of Pupil Personnel and the Assistant Superintendent's office, and trying to organize those. In terms of the Director of Pupil Personnel's office, that's in the middle of your org chart. I'm looking to expand that to include human resources. We had this discussion early in the fall, so that I asked you for direction if you wanted to go down that road. You did say yes. And so we have, I'm looking at a human resources executive secretary there. And then to continue on the work of special education and related services, which are the pupil personnel services, or pupil services. The only new area in that chart that's right in the middle, that branch that's in the middle, is coordinator of out-of-district and magnet schools. As you know, we are required to attend and run the planning and placement team meetings of all of our special education and 504 students around the state and out of the state, depending on where our students go. So they could be attending a magnet school, they could be outplaced by an agency or outplaced by the district, and we are required to do all of those. And I know Mrs. Buell spends a lot of her time in the car going from place to place. And so this would relieve her of that time commitment and allow her to pick up the oversight of human resources. And that's why we're looking for an executive secretary in human resources, someone who truly will know the work, and that Mrs. Buell would not have to be doing the work, but performing the oversight of the work. Additionally, the assistant superintendent, I'm looking for to expand that title and make it the assistant superintendent for curriculum, instruction, and assessment. I think it makes it very strong, telling us what that branch of central office is doing. Right now, we have 6 curriculum coordinators, and included in that is an assessment piece and a grant writer piece. We also have director of educational technology. I'm looking to flatten the hierarchy. That is something that we've been trying to do across the state of Connecticut. It's very much a part of the commissioner's theory of action, is to create teacher leader positions, to create the work closest to the classroom. Is where the curriculum work should be done, and the leadership should be. So I'm looking to eliminate the curriculum coordinator for fine arts, create 2 department heads, one for art and music. Those would be teacher leader positions. Eliminate the position of curriculum coordinator of physical education and health, and that would become a department head. The athletic director would be also a teacher stipended position. Now, mind you, that one is not currently a teacher stipended position, so that would have to be negotiated with the union. Right now, we have a half-time world language coordinator, and I'm looking to make that a department head. That would be a 7-12 department head. The other 3 would be K-12 department heads. We have a .45 grant writer, which is an administrative position. I do believe that doesn't need to be an administrative position, and we can hire a person who could be doing that for us full-time as a writer who is not an administrator. I'm looking to add, as I said a few moments ago, the coordinator for out-of-district and magnet school 504 and IEP students meetings. And also a 1.0 coordinator of the SEED evaluation. So right now I'm looking at as a 1-year position, because next year as we do the SEED document, that means that everyone will have a baseline. That's the Professional Development Committee of the district has determined that that is the model we're going to follow. And so every single certified person will have a minimum of 6 evaluations. They will have a minimum of 5 objectives, professional learning objectives, or student learning objectives is what they're called. And so it will be a huge, huge task for us. So to eliminate administrators, this adds one in as well. Right now, in terms of displacement of people, in the 4 areas that I was eliminating positions, 2 of those people are retired people who are working for us. And the other 2 people, we do have 2 positions that we are creating. The SEED evaluator, and our 1.5 that we're creating. We already have the half-time assessment person. And then the coordinator of the out-of-district and magnet school meetings, PPT 504 meetings. So there would not be a layoff. It would be a reduction in force in terms of positions, but people would still have jobs. They just might be a different responsibility than they have. And I would, the other thing I'm looking at is subject leaders in the elementary schools. I would love 4 per school, but I'm looking at 1 per school, or I'm looking at 4 across the district. 1 in mathematics, 1 in English language arts, 1 in science, and 1 in social studies. To coordinate that work as close to the classroom as we possibly can. Again, those would be stipended positions, and even though there's a subject area, there is a subject leader position in the teacher's contract. Those 3 areas: subject leaders, department facilitators, and department heads. So that's where we are right now, and I open this for questions. Again, it's still a draft, but we're getting closer.
Thank you, Dr. Conway. Ms. Fisher.
I just want to have a little more clarification on the difference between department heads and department facilitators and subject leaders.
They're defined in the teacher's contract, and department heads have a department head certification. And department facilitators, and they also have a block off in addition to their stipend. Department facilitators are defined as VCMS teachers, and they're like department heads, except that they're at VCMS, they do not get any release time. And subject leaders are, if I have this right, subject leaders are people who do not have a department head certification. So we might have a subject leader at the high school. It doesn't say it's just at the high school, but we might have one at the high school who wants to be a department head but doesn't have that, and they get less of a stipend. The department facilitator and the department head, the stipend is the same. And the subject leader is a smaller stipend.
Is the facilitator certified?
I don't remember, Mrs. Morasso, no. There are many middle school people who do. That's kind of a high school thing to be department head certified.
Thank you.
Mr. Percy?
Dr. Conway, when you brought this to us in the fall, I thought we voted on it in theory. And you were going to bring it back, and because there's no cost in any year. And that was one of the questions I think this board asked is, what's this going to cost?
Right.
You know, I know you're eliminating, you're adding, and
Right.
there's no dollar amount here.
Right, no, I'm guessing it's gonna save about $150,000.
Mr. Percy, you still have the floor.
And with question with the human resources executives, I mean, I know Patty's busy as Director of People Personnel Services and Human Resources, or Director of People Personnel Services already. You're giving her more to do. I understand you're taking away the out-of-district work, but that human resources piece, is that executive secretary to be able to handle? I'm afraid we may be putting too much on the Director of People Personnel Service. Would a human resources manager, you know, somewhere off to the side, maybe under the business office, something like that, that this is what they do?
Well, that would be wonderful too. It does cost more. We are the Human Resources Executive Secretary. We do have someone that has retired, is now working a couple of days a week doing the benefits piece of what this person will do. Coordinating all the benefits, looking at all the contracts, and so a good executive secretary will be able to organize all that work under the direction of Mrs. Buell in this case. And then that will, using the coordinator will give her some more flexibility in time, that she doesn't have to be out of the district all the time, but we're adding that. That's a position that does not exist now. So yes, to have a human resources manager would be, you know, marvelous to have someone devoted to that job who is trained to do that job.
I know we've had problems with human resources over the past, you know, few years. So I just don't want that to be, not that it would be ignored, but I want it to be addressed appropriately.
Ms. Serna?
The explanations that you gave, Dr. Conway, were, I tried to keep up with them in notes, but I would have preferred a narrative to go along with this to explain a lot, because I'm still not really clear about exactly what's going on and what the effective change is. I know you said you were eliminating 4 positions, and that would include retirements and some riffing, but quite honestly, I'm hoping to table for a little further explanation that this is, for me, I don't know what existed before. I know what you're suggesting, but it has no meaning to me because I have no comparison. And your guess that it may save $150,000, I would wonder if you could be a little more quantitative with that. And then what's the grant writer you said is 0.45?
It's an administrative position that's 0.45 right now, right? Because it's a retiree, they can't work over 0.45.
Okay. Does that remain the same?
I think the salary would actually be a little bit less